Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make your own custom hook and eye bra closure. There's a free pattern and it will be linked in the description box below. If you find this video to be useful, I hope you give it a like and share it with someone who'd enjoy it. Let's jump into the materials you'll need for this project. The pattern itself, hand sewing needle, matching thread, marking tools. I have soap. You can also use tailor's chalk or a pencil. I recommend a tightly woven fabric. I have cotton here. You can use whatever fabric you want because we'll be interfacing it. The interfacing needs to be this stiff woven interfacing that irons on. 6 pairs of hook and eye closures. The set is 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch long. An iron, a sewing machine with a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch. You can also do this entire project by hand, so don't worry. We have an eye side template, the eye side interfacing, eye column cover and eye column cover interfacing, the hook side template and the hook side interfacing template. We'll need to cut 2 of each of these. So make sure to cut your patterns on the grain. So this is the grain. There's no stretch here, no stretch here. If you cut on the diagonal, you're going to risk stretching, so don't do that. Make sure it's on the straight grain. Iron your fabric before cutting so that it's nice and flat. Cutting the patterns and interfacing the fabric. I put my fabric on fold so that I can cut 2 of each pattern piece. I'm outlining using a pencil so I can cut easier. I cut the interfacing off camera and now I'm going to iron the fabric before ironing the interfacing onto it. The interfacing has a shiny side and a matte side. The shiny side is the one with the glue, so we face it down onto the fabric. The interfacing has a 1 cm gap from the straight edge that will be the pocket opening, so I'm making sure to align the interfacing correctly. I press it on for about 30 seconds before setting it aside to cool and moving on to the next pattern piece. If your interfacing has instructions, follow the instructions on it. Mine didn't have instructions, so this is the technique I've been using. Remember, the interfacing for the eye column covers goes straight down the middle of the fabric itself. After ironing the interfacing on and having the fabric cool down, we fold one side of the seam allowance towards the center and press it so that we have a crisp edge to work with when we are installing the eyes in the next few steps. Here is method 1 for the eye side. I am using the pattern as an indicator of where to draw the seam lines onto the fabric for the eye pattern that I've already interfaced. That way I know where to place the eye column covers in the future. The metal eyes go 1/8 of an inch above the top and bottom seam line so that we have space to sew later. The middle eye is positioned straight in the middle. So we're going to sew this by hand, or you can use the sewing machine and a zigzag stitch or a buttonhole stitch to secure the metal eyes onto the fabric. If you're doing a zigzag stitch, I recommend a stitch width of 3 and a stitch length of 0.5, and remember to lower the feed dog so that your fabric doesn't move around. After securing the eyes in place, you're going to take the eye column cover and use the edge that's been folded under to position on top of the metal eyes and do a straight stitch length of 1.5 to top stitch it in place. You can sew this by hand, which is what I did here. Then you'll do a basting stitch to keep the loose end from moving about. I'm going to fold over the straight edge of the pocket opening to make the seam allowance face the inside, and I'll do a straight stitch by hand. Repeat the same step for the side with the metal eyes. You can sew this at the sewing machine using a straight stitch. Then we're going to position the 2 pieces of fabric right sides touching, so the interfacing is looking up, and then we're going to do a straight stitch all along the perimeter to enclose it. You can also do a zigzag stitch afterwards to prevent the fabric from fraying. Now trim off the excess seam allowance to leave it at 1/8 of an inch. This reduces bulk so that you're able to turn the pocket right sides out. Poke the corners using a blunt object, and this is what the completed eye side looks like. Here are some bonus tips. You can make an eye using needle and thread. Here it's called a working bar, and I'll link several tutorials below. You can also salvage metal eyes from an old bra you're not using. Method 1B of creating the eye pocket is to fold the curved edge of your pattern so that you'll cut your fabric on the fold and interface it on the fold as well. After securing the metal eyes, you would put on the first eye column cover and sew it in place. Baste the loose end so that it doesn't move around. Then you draw the line for the next eye column cover, sew the metal eyes in place, and then position the second eye column cover on it. Sew it in place and baste the loose end so that you can treat that area as one. Then you will fold the seam allowance edge of the pocket opening so that the seam allowance is facing the inside. Do a straight stitch to keep it that way permanently, and repeat that step for the other opening of the pocket. Then you would put the fabric right sides touching and sew a straight stitch all around the perimeter except on the folded edge. Trim the excess seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. Turn your eye pocket right side out and it is complete. Method 2 for the eye side is similar to the previous one. We draw the markings and then we would position the eye column cover on top of the first column cover. We do a straight stitch, leaving a gap to insert the metal eyes in the future. I already sewed one in place, so what I'll do is slide the metal eye through the column, in between the column cover and the fabric of the base. Then I mark the holes where the anchors are so I can sew using a zigzag stitch. The zigzag stitch width is 3 and the stitch length is 0.5. Now that the metal eyes are anchored, I will baste the loose end to keep it from moving around. Position the next eye column cover, repeat the same sewing steps. Then I would fold the seam allowance of the pocket opening towards the inside and repeat that step for the lining. Then I'll do a straight stitch to make that permanent. Then I'll put the two fabric pieces right sides touching and sew using a straight stitch all around the perimeter. Then I'll do a zigzag stitch next to it to keep the fabric from fraying. Then I'll trim down the excess seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch to reduce bulk. Let us now sew the hook side. We already prepared the fabric pieces by interfacing them. Now we're just going to put them right sides touching and sew a straight stitch on one side, leaving gaps to slide in the hooks. The gaps are indicated in the pattern. Now trim down the seam allowance of the top side of the pocket opening to 1/8 of an inch. Now is a good time to fold the seam allowances of the pocket opening towards the wrong side and sew them permanently in place, but you can do that later. For now, I'm inserting the hooks through the gaps I left in the stitching, and then I'll be hand sewing them in place, and then I will clean up the pocket opening like I mentioned. After doing that, I'm going to the sewing machine to do a straight stitch on the open sides that are yet to be sewn. I recommend using a zipper foot because you can get really close to the edge. You can trim the excess seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch to reduce bulk. Turn the pocket right side out, poke out the corners using a dull object, and your hook side is done. I want to bring something to your attention. When the gaps between the hooks are 1 inch, there's going to be gaping when the closure is in use, so I recommend no more than a 1/2 inch gap. As you can see here, when I pull the hook and eye apart, there's no gaping. I just wanted you to know in case you decide to alter the pattern to make it taller or shorter. Remember, the free pattern is linked below. It includes written instructions. If you found this to be useful, please like the video for me and share it with someone who can use it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.